Hello, I'm Doug Thompson. Welcome to the Tanium Podcast, where we cover the latest tech solutions from Tanium, the global innovator in cybersecurity. On today's episode, we're discussing Tanium Automate, the latest release from Tanium. Tanium Automate allows IT and security teams to create custom playbooks with little or no code to automate any IT challenge. Automation is considered by many the next big step in cybersecurity, but for those of you out there who are still a little hesitant about this, it doesn't mean there's no human hands at the helm. Here to discuss the benefits and concerns of automation is Stephen Yang, Director of Product Management here at Tanium. Welcome to the podcast, Stephen.
Thanks, Doug, for having me here.
So we're talking about Automate today. This is a new feature we've just introduced. So tell us a little bit about why do we need to automate anything, especially if you think back a couple Fridays ago, the travel day from hell and those things. Why would anybody want to automate anything?
Yeah, for sure. So, what we consistently hear from our customers and partners is that they have a mountain of work, right? Their teams are strained across all these different projects. Work is getting more complex, and they have far few experts to do this work. And they want to invest in a platform to drive these automations to be more effective, to be more cost effective, be more efficient in the types of things that they can do, because they have all these different strategic projects that will generate financial benefits to their company, and they want to get rid of all these very monotonous, very boring tasks with automation. And so that's really where Automate really comes into here, generating these different opportunities to provide automation across the Tanium platform to make things that are very monotonous, very boring but business critical manual tasks, and build better automation around that so that you can dedicate more time and resources to some of the more business critical, more impactful things that you can do.
Yeah, I like that because as I talk to people out in the field, one of the questions I like to ask is, why did you get in IT? And I'm still waiting for the person to answer they got into IT because of patching. But yeah, that's where they spend a lot of their time, right? And this, what I hear you saying is, let's do this as in a predictable and manageable way to automate some of those things so then you can do the cool things that you got into IT for.
Right. Exactly.
So in this case here, again, if you take the self-driving car example, what level of automation are we talking about here? I mean, because I still won't get in a car that doesn't have a human at the wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the way we're designing Automate is always with humans at the forefront, human in loop control, right? So you can obviously build what we call playbooks to string together these different actions. You can schedule them to run it in the set it and forget it mode. But you can always have the ability to stop these playbooks, to pause the playbooks, to add different types of manual intervention steps that will make sure that you have the ability to control the progression at all times, right? So not only do you have the ability to control the progression of the playbooks, how you want these automations to run, you also have that full visibility around it as well. So if a playbook starts, when it starts, who initiated it, getting that full audit and history log as well, so that you really understand what's going on at all times. And we've also built in notifications, right? So getting email notifications when a playbook starts or when it has errors or when it completes, so that you're notified at all times what's going on in your environment. So that's really central and core to how we're thinking about automation in Tanium. It's not some type of black box thing that you have no visibility into. It's really making sure that we are here to help accelerate your manual tasks, your complex tasks, not trying to hide away anything or kind of make it not accessible.
Yeah, so we're not trying to get rid of people here. A lot of times when you hear automation, people immediately start fearing for their job, and there's a resistance to that. So this is actually, again, sort of making things repeatable. Because do you find that as you automate some of these very manual processes, that the processes themselves improve?
Absolutely. So one of the big things we hear from our customers is they have all these different manual processes that involve a lot of different steps, and they have to be done in a specific sequence, right? They have to be in a specific way. And when you have different teams, you have folks that you bring on to the team, some newer folks. What happens is that knowledge transfer doesn't necessarily always get passed down, right? And so what you have is kind of an unstandardized or non-standardized process. And so with these playbooks, with these automations, what you can do is you can actually codify these normal processes that you have to do on a day-to-day basis and really reduce the manual errors, right? So that really has a huge impact to business continuity, business kind of impact there, which is just making sure that you are improving your security and compliance by making sure that the same tasks are done in a repeatable, very consistent, and accurate manner every single time.
So are these automations some things that can evolve over time? Like if I want to start with just, okay, here's a few steps, but later I find I can add something, I start to trust it and I find out it works. Sort of like a crawl, walk, run. Is that something that's possible?
Yeah, so all these playbooks are built up of these modular steps. I like to call them Lego blocks, right? So what they're really doing is they're taking these existing actions, whether they're platform actions, whether they're solution actions that you already have available in Tanium today, and you plug and play them into whatever sequence that makes sense for you. So you can start off with a very basic sequence. It could just be 2, 3, 4 steps. And as you find them to be effective, you want to modify them. You want to tune the different targeting, tune the different parameters. You can really easily add more steps, remove steps, change the order. That's really what we're trying to build here, is something that's very modular. So something that might have been a very complex script before that was hard to manage, hard to adjust. Now you have these very easily kind of add adjustable blocks to add things and remove things into these playbooks.
And can you chain playbooks together?
So not right now. So playbooks are their own entity. So you right now, when you create a playbook, you have to run the playbook from start to finish. That being said, going back to the customizability of the playbooks themselves, right? So if you wanted to build them into more modular format, you can kind of have a couple of different playbooks to run separately and have those run. But if you then want to combine them, you can just bring in the steps that you're doing across the different playbooks into a single one.
Yeah, that's a good way to do that. Take sort of these disparate things. Let's take patching a SQL cluster or something that's a pretty common, or any type of cluster where it is much art is or magic as it is art. I think to a certain extent, because you have to take things down and fail over roles, and there's just a whole lot of ugly steps that again takes time. Humans have to interact, and you really don't necessarily know when they're going to complete. So that's something that I know some people put off things like that to maybe once a quarter, where they could really benefit from doing something a lot more frequently, because it's just simply, okay, it's that time. Let's go ahead and do that, and it would help relieve some of that stress and that pain point. But in something like, how do you break something like that down? And what if we don't necessarily have a built-in component to do something like that?
Yeah. So obviously, we want to provide as much out of the box components and steps available. So we have a whole step library of different building blocks that you can really easily plug and play into these playbooks. But of course, we recognize that customers have different unique situations and they have their custom needs. And so that's where that deploy action step comes in, where really you're able to create any type of package. So really any script that you want to run on an endpoint, you wrap that up into a package, and you take that step and you plug it into a playbook. So when you want to do those custom kind of actions and custom things, you can really easily put that into there as well. So what we're trying to do here is ease of use out of the box, but have the flexibility to do things that are more tailored to your specific environment and allow you to do that very easily.
And you bring up a good point. They probably got some scripts around that they have to sort of run in a manual process today. So
Exactly.
this is just simply putting them back into an order, that you could go ahead and then, if A, then B, then C, and D, like that.
Exactly. And when we talk to a lot of our customers, what they have today is a lot of custom packages and custom sensors that I've created already. And what they're doing is it's hard to sequence things together today, right? And so what Automate is going to allow them to do is put them together in very logical sequences, but also add in conditional logic, right? So we have a step called verify condition step, which allows you to establish an if-then context. So anything that you can ask about your environment with a sensor, you can establish that as the condition. And if that condition is met, take follow-up action. So that's really where we see a lot of interest in kind of customers trying to build together these actions and ingest those type of real-time feedback and endpoint conditions.
Yeah. So in this point there, this is where the validation is taking place, right?
Exactly. And one of the really powerful things about Automate is it's built on top of the Tanium platform, right? So everything that we're doing, whether that's actions you're taking on the steps in the playbook or the validation, it's all pulling down real-time data, right? So it's not stale data as we're making these decisions for progression and validation. You can stitch together all these different things, handle very complex processes based on the current endpoint state of the environment.
Yeah, and that's good because sometimes this takes about 10 minutes to do most days, but some days some machines are just a little bit slow and they don't want to do it. So if I were timing on wait 10 minutes and do this, then I could have an error.
Right. Right.
What have the customers that have seen this? I know it's been in preview for a while. What are the customers that have been preview talked about this? What benefits have they seen?
Yeah. So I mentioned before the reducing the manual errors, right? So all these manual tasks, now that you have them in automated sequences, you're improving your risk reduction, simplifying automation of complex tasks. So something like cluster patching, where you need to maintain, high availability of your server clusters and your nodes, and you have to do those certain actions in a specific sequence in a specific format. It's a very cumbersome process today. It takes a ton of time. It's often done, late at night or on the weekends. So just giving teams back that time, right?
Mhm.
One of the other things that we hear and say is it's really helping to stitch together all the different capabilities that they have in the platform, right? So it's no longer just IT operational use cases or security operational use cases. Now that you have Automate and it's built as part of the platform, right, you can really easily blend together those types of end-to-end use cases. So something that was previously done in one aspect and part of the platform, and follow that up with another part of actions. Now you can have them all into a very easy sequence to deploy on a set cadence here. Another thing I hear most often is being cost effective, right? So not only are we saving the time and resources for the playbooks themselves, but you can also create playbooks for things like software license reclamation. So our customers often have situations where they have commercial software licenses deployed to their end users that are no longer using it, and why not create a playbook to go and monitor them on a consistent basis, see if there's opportunities to reclaim the license back, uninstall the application, and drive more cost savings there as well. So a ton of different creative use cases we've heard from our customers and ways to make their business more effective and streamline costs.
So this sounds like this is like the first building block to get to that autonomous endpoint management that we have sort of this North Star. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Automate is just one piece of this autonomous endpoint management journey, right? So
Mhm.
right now, Automate is this no-code workflow builder. It has a UI for you to build these different playbooks and orchestrate actions together. But also is an automation engine that serves across the platform under the hood. So as we build out more capabilities around autonomous endpoint management with our ring-based deployment, with our recommendations, in general, more enhanced automation capabilities in the platform, Automate as a service and kind of the engine itself will drive a lot of those pieces. And again, because it's built into the platform. So this is just one stepping stone for us as part of a much broader story, a much broader evolution of the platform.
It's definitely a big stone. This is like that big landing stone you have at the bottom. I really like that, and I hear a lot of as I talk to customers about it. This fixes a lot of problems that they have. Again, very laborious, intensive problems and reliability problems as well. So this is like, what are we thinking about? What are some other things that we might be thinking about for the future? And it's not a roadmap discussion or anything, but just some early thoughts about what might be.
Yeah, the two big things that I'll call out here is just providing more out of the box content, right? So right now you have the ability to create your own custom playbooks, and that lends a lot of flexibility. But where we want to get to is really get to a state where customers don't necessarily have to create anything from scratch, that there's some type of template or formula that they can start from and then go and modify. So the concept there is essentially a playbook gallery. Soon we'll have the ability to have Tanium managed playbooks, which are just essentially out of the box playbooks that you can run as is or modify them to your needs, but just add more and more. And
Right.
we are working with the Automate community as well. So a recently launched Automate community where everybody in the Tanium community, whether it's customers or partners, can share different ideas and hearing a lot of different creative ways to build these playbooks as well. So that's one piece. The second piece is looking at third-party integrations as well, right? So not just within the Tanium ecosystem, but opportunities to plug into your existing systems. With Automate, we're not trying to necessarily replace every single tool out there. Your automations. You have a lot of business processes and that are already established. Whether that's from a ticket management standpoint, change management standpoint. One of the things we hear a lot is with ServiceNow.
Mhm.
So being able to do kind of a full end-to-end process. Let's say from a ServiceNow ticket, kicking off a playbook to run. That playbook runs, and you close the ticket. Something as simple as that. Just looking at different ways to plug into our customers' existing ecosystems of tools is something that we're thinking about long term.
That's great because again, that platform approach is really cool. So, thanks for telling us about Automate. I'm really looking forward to that. One of these days, they may automate a podcast, which would make my life easier on that, where all I have to do is talk, I guess. But Stephen, thanks a lot for sharing some stuff about Automate. And at Converge, are we going to have some labs and stuff on Automate?
We absolutely will have labs. So folks who have attended Converge last year saw our early initial Automate lab, but now that we're in general availability for our cloud customers, there's going to be more labs available at Converge this year. Really excited to talk to our customers and partners about different opportunities and kind of brainstorm different creative playbooks that folks have come up with.
Well, there you have it. Let's see everybody at Converge. And thanks, Stephen, for sharing, spending some time with us and talking about Automate.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Doug.
I've been speaking with Stephen Yang, Director of Product Management here at Tanium. To learn more about Tanium Automate and the many other ways the Tanium platform can benefit your organization, visit tanium.com. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a 5-star rating. And be sure to subscribe to Tanium Podcast to hear more discussions and debate from Tanium partners, customers, and team members across the globe.